Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us for another episode of the Power to Build show, where we explore the trends, technologies, and people shaping the future of home building. As always, I'm Marco.
And I'm Bryan.
Bri, look at this setup we have today.
Yeah, our marketing team got us some phenomenal tech, a new microphone, a brand new webcam. So hopefully you guys could see us better, hear us better, and, hopefully our episodes are going to be, a lot more put together.
Today we're joined by Nick Czar, the Vice President of Business Growth at the new HomeStar. Nick and his team help builders rethink how they sell homes from the ground up.
Yeah, Nick, we're super excited to have him on the show today. Given our role in sales, both Marco and I, we are super eager to talk to him. Nick knows how to grow sales teams, build better strategies, and create great customer experiences. Plus, he understands what works now, what's changing, and what's to come. So, super excited to have him on the show.
And without further ado, Nick, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you very much, Marco. I really appreciate that.
Nick, obviously we're in the home building industry here. Why don't we start with a quick little introduction? Tell us a bit about yourself and sort of your home building journey. What drew you into the industry and what's kept you here all these years?
Yeah, thank you so much for that, Bryan. I really appreciate it. As you said, my name is Nicholas Czar, and I currently serve as the Vice President of the Builder Solutions Group for New HomeStar. I've spent my entire career helping home builders elevate their sales performance. Everything from lead management to training, online sales, recruiting, and the systems that tie up all of that together. And at New HomeStar, our mission is to partner with builders to help them sell more homes more profitably through better people, stronger processes, and smarter technology. And so I'm really here to talk with you, Constellation, CSI specifically, because you guys have built such a powerful ecosystem that provides end-to-end software solutions for builder partners across the world in North America. And so that's really exciting because you guys cover everything from land development to construction, all the way to homeowner services. And what we found is that when you pair the right people, training, and the right process discipline with this software, that's where you really get the value unlocked. And so I'm looking forward to talking with you about where those two worlds meet, how New HomeStar's approach to sales, recruiting, and performance management can complement Constellation's end-to-end technology stack.
Awesome. And yeah, thanks, Nick. And, you talked a lot about our ecosystem and, you guys do a great job with new home sales. And we want to know, over the past 10, 20 years, how have new home sales changed and evolved, given AI and other technologies? So what can you tell us about that?
Oh my gosh. I mean, it's a different world now. I mean, I started my career back in, it was 2000 when I started my career. I was fortunate to work for a large publicly traded builder out of the Detroit, Michigan market, which is where I'm originally from. And, I had a great experience with them. But when I think about the experience that I had as a young sales counselor starting my career and what today's sales counselors and today's sales professionals that are just now entering the market are met with, it's completely different, and really, if you want to kind of narrow down where I think the single biggest difference is really what the role of the sales associate is. You see, 25 years ago when I started, quite honestly, we were gatekeepers, right? This was a time where, not all home builders even had websites at that point in time. And so people would still get out on a Saturday morning and start driving around in circles, looking for open house signs and signage to drive them to available properties. Maybe they looked in the newspaper. I know that sounds super archaic to us, but that's the real thing. And they would maybe reach out to their local real estate offices to see, hey, where were the open houses at, so that I could go tour some homes and see what was going on. And so when a home builder's marketing engine would drive that prospect into the sales office, the sales associate, quite honestly, would take a role of a gatekeeper, right? They needed my interaction and my expertise to get the appropriate information to make an educated, informed decision to ultimately make the best home purchase possible. And so what that did is that put the sales associate in a great power of position, because it was kind of like, hey, thank you for visiting. Can I sign this registration card? And they would say, oh, well, no, I'm on a brochure. I'm here to see the model. I'd rather not sign that. And I'd be like, fantastic.
Yeah.
Need you to sign this. And you
Yeah.
could be a little bit more direct about it because quite honestly, they needed the information from you and you could kind of play that information exchange game to control the customer interaction. And today it's completely different. It's not even anything close to that, right? Because now we know over 100% of all prospects start their search online now. That's across the board. So now when a sales prospect is coming in and it interacts with that professional at the point of sale, there is no more information to gatekeep and withhold in order to control the conversation. You must assume that these people have probably spent hours and hours online, probably have looked through thousands of homes digitally before they even got in their car to come out to the community and interact. And
Right.
so what that changes is number one, the sales associate is no longer the gatekeeper of information. In fact, we think it's more challenging because now you're a curator of information rather a gatekeeper. And that is the single biggest difference in 25 years, in my humble opinion, in the profession. And what that then challenges the today's sales associate to do is number one, understand that these prospects are coming in at a deeper part of the funnel. They're not coming in to say, oh, what is the price? Because they already saw that online. Or what are your
Hmm.
floor plans? They already saw it online. What's the school district? If that was part of their search criteria, they already know this information. So it's about using tactful questioning and keeping that customer experience front of mind when uncovering to where they are currently at so that today's sales associate can meet the customer where they're at rather than gatekeep and drive a process or an experience, if that makes sense.
Right. No, great. That's, you basically summarized, the evolution, call it, right? Like I remember, helping my parents when I was a kid 16 years ago, going house shopping. Buyers didn't have the type of information that they have today, right? Now I literally can log into an app and see every single home that's in sale in areas that I might be looking at. So, you basically summarize that whole thing. So that's great. So, Nick, what does outsourced but embedded sales management really look like in practice? Can you shed some light on that?
Yeah, great question. And so, that is kind of where New Homestar started, right?
Hmm.
And really remained for the first 15 years that we were in business. This outsourced sales solution where home builders would essentially hire us to come in, take over the entire sales operations, including management and staffing, training, recruiting, onboarding, offboarding, all of the things associated with it. And what we did is we said, hey, look, we're going to give you the look and feel of an in house sales team with the support of a national organization behind them, which was really, really beneficial, particularly for those home builders that were like regionally sized and maybe they had a handful of divisions and in a particular region of the country and we're spread out enough to have some difficulties managing it but close enough together where you could have some central decision making. And so in that particular environment we really thrived because we said, hey, look, you can hire us. What that's going to do for you is number one, it will take that expense of carrying your sales team off of your books. And so as we see a lot of builders kind of shifting to that asset light business model, this is a way that they can complement, their the way they stack their land and keep that off book with land bankers, et cetera. This is a way where they can keep this expense off books and kind of complement their asset light model. And so what we said was like, hey, hire us. We're going to recruit for you. We're going to hire the right people. We're going to train them. We're going to continuously support them. We're going to provide them with technology solutions. We're going to provide sales operations consulting, marketing, all of these things. But you got to buy it all or you don't get
Right.
anything. And so that was kind of where we started 15 years ago. And that's what we did for the first 15 years in business. And then a few years ago, we realized we reached what I like to consider critical mass. And we felt like we have longstanding partners. We've been doing this now for some time. We have some deep relationships in the industry. And so all of that kind of supported the unbundling of these individual offerings. And that's really the effort that I lead today at New Home Star is, working with builders that maybe aren't large enough to really incorporate a full outsourced solution. But what we can do is we can a la carte tailor solutions to a home builder's particular situation, to their market, to their company's life cycle. in order to help them grow and expand and grow up to a point where we could actually go outsource with them if they so choose or not. And so approaching it in this way kind of allows home builders to partner with us on the solutions that make sense for their organization and then keep the pieces that, they want in-house as well. And so it provides a lot of flexibility there.
Awesome. Nick, that's great. And you mentioned training. How
Yeah.
does Newstar's training platform differ from traditional builder training or what you've seen builders doing with their staff?
Yes, that is a great question. Thank you for asking it, Marco. The single biggest difference is that, and I don't want to say that this is different from all home builders because I think there's a lot of home builders that do participate in this approach. But at New Home Star, we truly approach our business from an abundance mentality. We believe that there is enough for everybody to go, to survive and to thrive. And so, we're certainly, we're very well aware of all the various different training solutions that are available to home builders out there. And, we think there's room for all solutions in the home building space. And so I wouldn't say that our offering is better or worse. I would say that our offering is different and it's collaborative. And so the single biggest difference that you'll find is that if you go to any fill in the blank publicly traded home builder, they're going to have a training manual, and they're going to have some training stuff, and it's all proprietary, and they're very protective of that. And I've even heard from some of my home building clients, some of the larger ones, particularly publicly traded ones, stating that that they're not sure how to utilize AI like ChatGPT and protect their proprietary information. And so, because that's a difficult problem for them to manage right now, kind of the easy way to approach it is to say, okay, team, just don't use ChatGPT, right?
Mhm.
But I don't think that's the right solution because now you're asking your team not to utilize the technology that your competitors are leaning into, that everybody in the world is leaning into. And so avoiding the technology is certainly not the solution, but I understand their concerns about keeping their information secure and private and safe. And so I think there's some great applications for that. The single biggest difference of what we have versus everybody else is that, number one, we're the only training organization in the no home space that we're aware of that actively sells homes. Like, we have a sales team. Our company has over 500 full-time employees, and we annually sell more than 7,000 homes per year. And so with that, we have people, boots on the ground in most major markets across North America, Canada included, that is bringing this market intelligence back to us saying, hey, this is what worked here. This is what didn't work. And so we kind of have that access to the tip of the spear to understand when things are happening in real time, so that we can alter our training to meet real-time demand needs. And so that's one of the biggest difference. The other biggest difference that I was alluding to when I was talking about the abundance mentality is that, for example, we have our own proprietary online platform for new home sales associates, and we have nearly 1,000 users on this, but it's not only our people. We actually invite other home builder sales teams to participate in this with us. And that's where you get almost like a social media experience where now you have users all over North America interacting with each other, and you get some really nice networking effects off of it. For example, when you have somebody utilize what we call our peer learning section, I can have a sales associate in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, ask a question and get it answered from another sales associate in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. And it's because, I'm dealing with this objection, or I had this customer scenario, or I'm dealing with this problem, or I have this difficult home that I'm trying to sell, whatever the case may be. They can actually put that out to our community of people, receive answers from everybody who participates in this, therefore giving them more of a 360-degree view of the problem and the situation and the potential solution. And so when you start to generate things like this, it's those peer learning questions and answers, which at this point in time, we have over 60,000 of them. We have over 60,000 peer learning questions that have been asked, and a lot more answers that go along with all of those questions, because each one's probably answered, 10, 20, 30 times. The point is that we've actually taken all of that data and wrapped it into one tool inside of our platform that's powered by AI, that is, to our knowledge, the only new home sales focused AI tool available that has our entire base level knowledge built into it, so that when a sales associate asks a question like, how do I move this inventory home that's been sitting for 6 months? Here's all the common objections. My builder has given me a 4.99%, forward commitment rate that I can advertise on this. And my targeted consumer group happens to be upwardly mobile young families. How would I present this? What is the right marketing? I'm in this city or this market. Where do I go to find these people? And you can do two things from this. Number one, you can increase your traffic, which is going to help the probability of selling and moving that home off of the books. And number two, you're going to increase your ability to convert at the point of sale because you will have already reviewed the potential objections, heard the solutions, and are now well prepared to convert at the point of sale, ultimately driving more sales for larger margins for home builders across North America.
That's amazing. Yeah, it sounds like you have sort of a proprietary process there that seems to be working absolutely incredible. So, can you share a story, Nick, where, one of your online concierge team made a measurable impact?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny you say that because we do have an online sales concierge team that is scaled across North America as well. But I do want to differentiate that once again, we have over 500 full-time employees. Most of our sales team are in home builder models, interacting with the public, and that
Right.
is a large majority of our company are those folks. However, you did mention the online sales concierge service, and we do offer that service for home builders as well. And so I appreciate you bringing that up. But really, this team over here, like I said earlier, we understand that over 100, well, at 100% of people start their search online nowadays. Like we watched over the past 10 years as this got to 90 and 92 and 94%. Now it's 100%. And so engaging with that customer when that customer is ready to engage and being able to do it in a way with somebody who is available to take the call, who is going to represent that builder's brand appropriately, somebody who is trained on the appropriate process and skill set, and somebody who can close on those appointments. That's the service that we offer for home builders as well. So, we could be the intake process when somebody calls in on the 800 number, and we also can support them on their websites through their chat bots as well. But the point of the matter is that when your customer, you may have spent literally as a home builder, you may have spent thousands of dollars to drive this one lead. And when that one lead decides to pick up the phone or engage with your chatbot, you need somebody available to engage with that customer at that particular moment. And it has to be somebody who is skilled, brand representative, and understands how to take that customer from, hi, how you doing, to, yes, I want to meet with your on-site sales associate. And so when we support builders through that, the single biggest advantage we get is number one, we're going to capture more. Okay. We're just going to capture more clients because we're going to provide them extended hours of service. We're going to cover just more ground for them right out the gate. The other part too is that the struggle that home builders typically deal with this is that it's very cost prohibitive to provide many hours of service for this. And so what they do is a lot of times I'll have it routed to a central location, like a main office. And then that main office person will answer the phone call and say, oh, who do you want to talk to? Oh, this community. And then they'll transfer them and you'll lose people all day long because nobody wants to wait for all of that. The other
Mhm.
option is you route the phones to the sales offices, which is not a good solution either, because I can tell you as somebody who's done the job for 17 years, before I even got into management, if I'm writing a contract, I'm not answering the phone because I'm focused on the deal that's in front of me. And so customers will be lost in that area. Another part where they're going to be lost too is, I've seen builders go like the call center route. And that's an issue because now you have more of like a message taker and that's it, right? There's no expertise, there's no sales. It's really just, I captured you, let me get your information, which quite honestly, we get most of that online anyways before they even
Mhm.
engage with us. And so there's not a lot of value to that. And then the third option or the last option, which a lot of smaller home builders go with, is that they'll hire one person to answer the phone 12 hours a day, 7 days a week, and that person will get burnt out and they'll quit and then they'll do it again and again and again. And the problem with that is now you don't have any consistency. You're constantly retraining. It's a problem. Your turnover costs get high. And so what we do is we come and solve all of those problems because we have the ability to scale our solution. That then allows us to provide builders 12-hour-a-day coverage with experienced sales counselors. I think every single one of my OSCs has spent significant time in the sales seat on site. So they have empathy for that position and understand how to coordinate with them. Furthermore, we provide excellent technology to track everything and robust reporting on a weekly basis so they can actually see the stats and the results. And really what we're finding is that when a prospect comes through the OSC channel, it typically converts at the point of sale at double the rate of a typical walk-in. And so if we're looking at national averages here, you can say that, a typical walk-in in any home builder's office across North America is typically about 10%. Now we have markets that are going to convert at 30%. We have some that'll convert at 3%, right? But the point is that, 10% is kind of your national average. Well, if that's the case and you're converting at 10% at the point of sale, if you implement our OSC solutions, when home builders do that, our appointments convert at double the rate of a walk-in. And so that creates a lot of efficiencies in the sales office, allows the sales associates to spend their time on the deals most likely to convert, and ultimately drive sales while freeing up the time and still getting that brand representation and, of course, the reporting that follows it as well. So I hope I didn't go off on too much of a tangent.
No, that was great, and there was a lot of information there our builders are going to love, and I'm sure they're also going to want to understand. Buyer behavior has changed significantly. I'd say, since COVID, especially. What change or trends have you seen that builders need to adapt to?
Well, I'm going to answer your question probably, Marco, in a way you didn't want me to. So I'm going to apologize in advance for that. But, because the answer is there is no one size fits all answer.
Right.
Right. Every home builder is so different. Even in any given market, you're going to have different products, price bandings, values, different types of segmentations for the customers, et cetera, et cetera. And that's going to vary in every single market, even in tertiary markets to the main markets. Right. And so, to say, hey, here, this is what it is, I think that would be, I don't know if that'd be representative of the true solution. What we believe and what we actually did is, gosh, this had to be maybe 5 or 10 years ago now at this point. But what we did is we actually developed a proprietary customer segmentation model for new home sales and home building specifically. And to our knowledge, we're the only ones that actually have this. And so we hired a number of consultants and took our smartest people with multiple master's degrees, and kind of locked them in a room for a number of months and let them figure this out. And what we did is we came up with a very, very robust customer segmentation guide saying like, okay, this is how we can slice and dice the market up. And, it's a really valuable tool, particularly for grand openings for home builders, because they might have an idea who their customer is, but they don't know until they actually start selling. And so we asked them, okay, what do you think of your, who your customer is through the lens of, economic status and structures and things of that sort. We asked them a few questions, and that can help us zero in on a particular targeted consumer market, right? Or a targeted consumer group. And then from there, now we can really dial in our marketing services to hit that specific customer. But here's the thing. Even if we guess right out the gate, as the life cycle of the community evolves, sometimes that targeted consumer group changes because prices go up over time or new things become available in the city. And so all of a sudden, your original targeted consumer group can no longer, maybe it's been priced out of it, or maybe it no longer appeals to them, and that has evolved to a different targeted consumer group. The question is how do you track these changes? How do you know when they happen? And how can you support builder partners with this newfound knowledge so that they can maximize the ROI with their marketing dollars? And so the way that we do it is this. When you're starting off with a brand new community, you kind of got to guess, right? And so are home builders, right? You're saying, okay, this is our product. This is our price point. This is what we think it's going to be. They usually have a pretty good idea when they bought the land of who they're targeting with this stuff. If they don't, we can clarify that picture through a very short series of questions. And then we hone in on that. Great. This is what it's going to be. Now that we know your main targeted consumer group, what are your complementary consumer groups as well? Because it's not just one person who's going to walk in there, or one type of person. So usually we have one primary TCP, or targeted consumer profile, and then we have up no more than 2 complementary ones. And then what we ask our sales associates to do is throughout, while we're servicing that client, we also do as part of our service a quarterly business plan of sales operations to our home builder partners. And it's at that time where we go community by community and have our sales associates say, hey, here's the people, here's who we thought our TCP was. Here's a list of the people who actually purchased, and here's a list of what my traffic was. So that then the builder can say, okay, well, if the traffic we're driving isn't the people who are purchasing, then we need to adjust something there, of course. And then also too, oh, wait a second, the TCP who bought this quarter was different than last quarter. Let's track that change. And the way that we're able to do that through data is that when we actually close our sales, we follow up with some survey methodology that then consumers ultimately feed back, which helps us further define that TCP so that we can track the evolution of this customer and then adjust our marketing and sales efforts to lead that particular customer through the most favorable thought process.
Gotcha. So it's all about kind of adapting, and every time I talk with someone, it's being able to change and shift in what you're offering and understanding the changes that you're experiencing in that new market.
Well, the only guarantee in this life is change, right? And so if you're
Exactly.
not set up to track it or understand how to shift and move with it, then you're going to be constantly playing catch up. And that's one of the things that we don't want our home builder partners doing. We want them being on the crest of the wave. We want them to be the leaders inside of their markets. We want them to be the ones that are setting the tone where the competitors are following, not looking for their competitors, what they're doing so that they can follow. And so this proprietary segmentation model coupled with a delivery mechanism and a way to track changes over time, I believe puts us in the forefront in this particular category in the home building space when it comes to sales.
That's great. And Nick, you have a lot of experience in this. And, obviously it sounds like you didn't get to this point without strategizing and, making sure, you have the right methodologies in place. Like in your experience, what's the biggest mistakes builders make in sales strategy? Like, how do you help? And then how do you help fix it?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I mean, there's a lot of mistakes that get made. I would say, and it changes per builder, it changes per market, and it changes per time period. Even the cyclical nature of our year, it change. And so with that, I'm going to kind of latch on to the cyclical nature and where we're at in the year. And I think if you talk to any home builder right now, I think there's a really big focus on cutting costs, right?
Hmm.
They're trying to find waste in their organizations. They're trying to find opportunities to squeeze a point of margin. And I think that's a great practice. I'm not saying for them not to focus on that. But what always kind of blows my mind a little bit as somebody who's focused in the sales and sales and marketing arena is quite simply this. Home builder will work for 6 months to, get a new contract with a major supplier to save a percentage point. And then their sales associate will give that up right at the
Hmm.
sales floor in 5 seconds. And that's super frustrating for home builders, right? Because it's like I put in all this time, all this effort to set up this margin, and then my sales team just gave it away. Not even because they had to, just because they could. And that will really stick with the builder. And so what we do to address a couple of those things is, number one, you've got to teach your team to sell from strength and protect the value. And if you're not providing your team with ongoing modern training, there's no way you're going to be able to do that. And when I say ongoing and modern training, one thing that I'm very proud of is, when the tariffs were first imposed, we had a training kicked out to all of our team members within a few days. What are tariffs? How to talk about it? What do you do when you have this objection? When somebody's expressing uncertainty about tariffs, how should you approach it? Well, we had that training developed and kicked out to our team members before it even really hit the news. And when you see a lot of rate talk right now with the Fed reducing rates and customers not understanding, well, wait, I just heard the Fed dropped the rate. How come the interest rate didn't go down today? It's like, well, because it was already
Right.
baked in, right? And like how to talk that through with a consumer who doesn't track interest rates every single day. And so being able to arm your team with these tools at the point of sale is how you can teach your team to sell from strength and protect those margins. Because, just because your builder gave you a $20,000 incentive doesn't mean you have to give up a $20,000 incentive either. If you can give 5 or 10 and get the deal done, why would you give 20?
Right.
But I know that there's salespeople across the country say, "Well, I have 20, so I'll give them 20." And quite honestly, there's that's margin right there.
Awesome. And that is funny that you say that because, when tariffs came out, it was kind of no one knew what they were. And if someone's coming at you and they're buying a house and you don't know what they are, it's unprofessional. And, you're always trying to build trust with people. And that's the whole thing with dealing with people in person and, staying away from technology. But how do you and your team balance technology with human touch in sales?
That is a great question. And so, we have always believed and continue to believe that when a prospect is coming in to purchase a new home, that it is an emotional purchase. We fully believe that. In fact, here at New Home Star, we say people buy with emotion and justify with logic, right? And so when you are as wonderful as AI cannot sell. Now, I
Mhm.
know that's going to be like a bold statement that people are like, no, it can. Sure. Okay. Got it. Right. Like, so when somebody finally develops the way to decode every facial expression of a human being and what it means, considering their background and where they're from and their culture and all the things, like, yeah, will we get there someday? Probably. But like, are we there today? Absolutely not.
Mhm.
Right. And so the way that we look at AI right now in the new home sales space is that, and also I'd like to acknowledge that there's a lot of fear, I think, in the new home sales space that AI is going to take their job. And we just had a big sales rally, our largest annual event in Texas about a month ago. We took over 300 of our closest friends and went down there to kind of, the theme was shift. And it was to encourage our team to shift into using technology. And really one of the big takeaways from this event was you're not going to lose, and this goes to new home sales associates and OSC reps. You're not going to lose your job to an AI bot, but you might lose your job or get left behind by another sales associate that's leveraging AI.
Right.
So utilize the tools. And we did a lot of education on what is ChatGPT's best use cases versus Perplexity versus Notebook, because, right, most people just know about chat right now. It's like the
Mhm.
Right.
of AI right now. But the reality is there's so many other platforms that have so many different use cases that people haven't even scraped the surfaces on. So our goal is to say, hey, let's get introduced to all of this various technology and this tools, and let's utilize it to the best of its extent. But the thing is that right now, AI cannot replace the human connection. Like, if I say something uncomfortable that makes Marco uncomfortable, I'm going to see him shift in his seat, maybe take a little step back from the camera. He's going to do some sort of
Of
nonverbal cue
course.
to let me know that he isn't uncomfortable. And we believe in our training, we talk about 70% of communication from one individual to another is nonverbal. And
Right.
so when you have an AI bot that can't read nonverbal cues or can't at least identify them or disseminate them at this point in time, considering all of the context, like AI is an amazing technology, but it's still not as good as our brains.
Yeah.
And if this is an emotional sale, then we need human beings to connect with other human beings on an emotional level. And then we'll let AI take care of all of the logic behind it, right? But the answer is in today's world, and I believe this is ever changing, so I'm not saying this is forever, but in today's world, the goal is to leverage this technology to amplify your opportunities and amplify your abilities rather than disengage or think it's going to go away or, take the ostrich approach and just put your head in the sand and hope it doesn't exist. Because obviously this is not going away, but
Right.
use it, lean in, make the shift with us. That's kind of our call to action.
Yeah. Nick, you make a lot of great points, right? Like there's that saying, people buy from people. Sometimes like there's just people buy differently. So, in your experience, like what does great customer experience look like in today's home building journey?
Yeah, that's a great question. Well, what a great home builder experience looks like to me is smiling faces on the people who are closing on homes. And it also means that those people are turning around and had such a great experience that they're bringing their friends and family. They want to bring this solution to other people. They feel like they're doing a service by bringing their people to the home builder rather than bothering their friends for a referral. There's there's a book out by Will Giarda. I hope I didn't murder his last name. It's called Unreasonable Hospitality. And if you know Will is responsible and known for his work in the restaurant industry and markets like New York and whatnot. And there's a lot of good tidbits in there about how to improve the customer experience. And the one that I want to make sure to give him credit for, because this is not my original work, and I always like citing where I get things from, and this is Will's work, but he says, I think I'm going to butcher this, but it's something like, provide a great experience with 95%, but go above and beyond over the top with that last 5%. Okay? And so the examples he used in his book, and he was a restaurateur, but he would say things like, they would provide great service and whatnot, but when it came to the dessert, they would have like a different cart and would be this elevated experience, and the presentation, I mean, it was almost obnoxiously absurd, over the top, but it was just with the dessert. And so that's what I would encourage home builders to think about, is like, look, we all have limited resources, limited budget, and limited time, right? And limited human resources to implement all of this. But if you could look at your customer experience and carve out 5% of it that you could go way over the top and way over their competition, that's what's going to create the memory point and the differentiator. And guess what? That's the story that customer is going to go tell all of their friends and family. Oh my gosh, the house is great. It had the right amount of bedrooms, great quality, in the right school district. But you should have seen this thing they did at the closing presentation, right? Or, but you should have really seen that, when we did our final walkthrough, they had, balloons and cannons going off when we walked in the door. They put a red rope out in front of my home. I walked a red carpet into my own home. Like, it's something like that elevated experience for 5%, which will differentiate, make the difference, and give the story. Like, you have to, as a home builder, you have to give your clients the story to go tell their to tell their friends and family. And we believe in going over and above for that 5% will accomplish that.
So I agree. And I love the fact that you said that, because I'm on the customer experience team here at Constellation, and that a lot of our builders, they're always asking us, and that's one of the main things we're always telling them is, that 5% or that one thing you go above and beyond for, is just going to make that entire purchasing experience from, you as the builder, such a better process and something to remember. It really helps bring that value from all the money you spent on that home. But Nick, last question here. We're always saying home building's evolving. What's next for the new Homestar and shaping the future of home building?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Gosh, we have so many different things in the fire right now. It's really hard to even pinpoint it. I'd just like to say that, the latest and greatest and the newest thing that we're doing right now is we're actually kind of beta testing it right now. We're just kind of starting to slowly roll it out to our closest friends to give them a taste. But what we've done is we've created what's called the EDGE program, New Homestar's EDGE program. And what this does is this kind of allows us to partner with more home builders, and in some cases, some sales leaders directly, where they can actually utilize our services almost as like a fractional manager, almost like a manager in their pocket that they can call upon when they need help with certain things. Because we understand that, home builders tend to limit how many leaders they have on their team because, of course, nobody has unlimited resources, and they have budgets and margins and things to adhere to. So, they can't just hire managers all day, every day, because they're too expensive, and it's just not going to work with their budgets. And so they run into an issue of having maybe one manager, maybe three, if you're dealing with like a large team type situation, where unfortunately they can't necessarily get them all on the same page at the same time. And looking at it from the sales leader's perspective, the challenge that they have dealing with it is that none of these people have time. Like, I've been a sales leader for many years, and I can tell you it is like you blink and your day is over, because you have sales associates calling you for help. You have your builder calling you, asking you for certain insights on a contract that might be being negotiated right now. your land person is asking you to go drive a piece of land so that you can, help with the pro forma, so he can go to land committee or she can go to land committee and present their case of why to buy this land. And you got an angry customer calling you, you got a realtor calling you got all this stuff going on. And so a lot of sales leaders find themselves living in that quadrant one, if you're familiar with the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey. But it's like that everything's in fire all the time quadrant. And it's hard for them to stop and catch a breath. And so what we did is we said, hey, look, typically our outsourced solution pairs best with building organizations that are doing more than $100 million worth of volume. But how do we help those home building operations that are doing less? How do we provide them an avenue to grow to that place? And how can we help them in a more limited way so that they can grow? And that's quite honestly where the Builder Solutions Group came about, which is the team that I am fortunate to lead. Through this group, once again, we sell a la carte solutions. So if somebody just wants to buy training from us, or if somebody just wants to buy online concierge services from us, or somebody wants to get their team on this portal where they can interact with other sales associates and ask questions and leverage our AI tools there and our sales operations tools in there. If somebody needs help with marketing, any one of these things kind of allows us to tailor a solution. And what this then allows us to serve is I tell a lot of sales leaders that we work with, I say, hey, I want you to look at New Home Star as your easy button. Like when you have a problem, press the easy button and let us get in there. So like a lot of times I'll, say, oh my gosh, I'm behind. I need to hire 3 people. Well, how are you going to do that? I don't know. I'm going to put it out on LinkedIn. I'm going to post. I'm going to do that. Like you'd be surprised how much support these leaders don't have when it comes to hiring. And a lot of it's all on them. And I can say, well, I'll tell you what, why don't you hire us? We know what we're doing. We've been doing this for 17 years. I've been hiring salespeople and sales leader for literally over 17 years at this point in time. Why don't you let us take some of this load off your plate? We'll vet through the candidates. We'll provide AI screening on top of it. We're going to do third-party reporting and personality tests as part of it. We're going to conduct an interview so that by the time this person gets to you, they've already been vetted through, say, 4 different touches. And now they're to you. So now you can interview 3 people for 3 hours and make a decision rather than spending 30 hours to get one of those candidates, one of the 3 that we would produce. And that's the thing, is that you don't have to hire us full time. We're not a member of your team. Just hire us. We come do our business and adios. And so what that allows us to do then is this Edge program allows us to give these solutions to sales leaders to free up their capacity to do their jobs more effectively. And I truly believe those that get their team on our portal and interacting with other sales associates immediately gain a competitive advantage in their market.
That's great, Nick. Really appreciate the insights there and looking forward to what's to come in the future for you guys. I know Marco had mentioned that was the last question, so throwing a curveball at you.
Yeah.
It's our favorite segment. It's the 30-second quick fire questions. We're going to ask you questions, just say whatever comes to mind, and that's the segment. So,
all right, but I'm a sales guy, so being brief is going to be hard for me. I think we've all realized that in this interview here.
All right, Nick. First question: what's one thing you learned at Harvard that you actually use in your day-to-day work?
Strategy frameworks.
Awesome. And if you weren't in home building, what career would you be in right now?
I would be a professional trap shooter.
Okay. What's that exactly? I don't even know what that is.
It's like
you got him there. You got him.
From you instead of crisscross.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Cool. Your ride or die sports team.
Oh, dude, anything Detroit.
Okay.
Pistons, Lions, Red Wings.
Pistons are killing it right now.
Love it. Well, so are the Lions too for the first time in 50 years. So that's exciting for us.
What's the most unexpected skill that's helped you succeed in sales leadership?
Oh, I would just say my ability to process quickly and get to the end of things quickly while still displaying empathy and humanity for my people.
Great. And last but not least, you've got 30 minutes to unwind. What are you doing? Hitting the gym, grabbing a coffee, doom scrolling on social media? What's on the map here?
All of the above, maybe? I don't know. No, definitely like hitting the gym. That's definitely a good stress reliever for me. But ultimately, if I have an extra 30 minutes, I want to spend it with my 11-year-old son, with my 9-year-old daughter, and with my wife. And right now, they're really into Harry Potter, and we're kind of like working our way through the books and the movies.
Cool.
And so, that's kind of how I'd spend my time, is just spending it with my family, catching up on some of that stuff, and kind of watching the wonder in their eyes.
That's awesome. Well, if it's Harry Potter, you're gonna need way more than 30 minutes because there's a whole. We did that recently with my wife, and let me tell you, it almost took a whole day to watch all the different series. So.
Oh, I hear you. You said 30 minutes is my window of attention span. That's all I'm
Exactly.
watching.
It's just to turn on the TV. Yeah. That's awesome. Well, thank you so much, Nicholas. It was a pleasure having you on here. Again, incredible insights. Marco and I are in sales ourselves, so a lot of the things that you mentioned today is true in heart, what we kind of follow as well. So again, really appreciate your time and joining us out here on the Power to Build show.
Hey, I appreciate it, Bryan. Thank you so much for the invite. Marco, I appreciate it as well, and certainly hope that your listeners, throughout North America, United States, and Canada find value in this episode. So thank you for allowing me to be here.
Wow, what a great conversation with Nick, Bryan.
Yeah, absolutely. I learned a lot. Obviously there was, we kind of touched on many topics there, but, the one thing that Nick mentioned about, kind of going back to the basics, right? People still buy from people regardless of whatever that you're sort of put in the position to sell. I think, at its core, it's people still buy from people. So that's one thing that stood out to me. Marco, what did you learn from him?
I loved his take on AI, and all of our guests are taking a kind of stab at it, but I really feel like Nick gave us some valuable lessons builders can, include in their day-to-day and leverage and, utilizing AI to its fullest. It's great to see, how far along AI has come since I've been at Constellation, and, it just keeps on getting, more, keeps getting bigger and bigger as the days go on. So I'm really excited to see where that goes. And Nick obviously shared a lot of insights, and I'm glad he used a lot of real life examples that, our viewers can take back and implement into their businesses.
Yeah.
Well, thank you all for joining us again here today on the Power to Build show. This podcast is all about driving conversation around home building and innovation. So let's make sure it doesn't stop here.
As always, don't forget to subscribe, share, and stay tuned for more episodes of the Power to Build show, because we have a lot more coming your way.
Thanks, everyone. See you on our next episode.